Yeah, this is Gautam. Welcome back. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, so I'm glad to be back. Okay. So PM Modi, he recently appealed to citizens to pause on buying gold, pause on foreign trips, destination weddings, and also curb the use of petrol and diesel. Okay. So of course, this has invited a lot of criticism and media attention. Okay. And but this video or this post is not about criticism at all. Okay. So see, many are pointing out that these non-essential dollar flows, okay, has been depressing the rupee. Okay. So in this video, let's try to understand why all of this impacts the rupee. Okay. From a fundamental standpoint or from a macroeconomic standpoint. Okay. So in this video, let me try to give you a pretty well-rounded understanding as to why this happens. Okay, why the rupee is sliding against the dollar. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to play a video that I recorded last year. Okay. Still very relevant today. Okay. It will explain why the rupee depreciation has been happening against the dollar. Okay. Last year, Trump tariffs the, etc., etc. This year, of course, the Iran war, extra एक angle add हो गया है. Okay. But again, the video is pretty relevant. All right. So I'm going to play that video now. Okay. Please write to me if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to clear any doubts that you have. All right. So thank you. Yeah. So, rupee has been the worst performing currency in Asia in this year. Yeah. In fact, rupee has depreciated more than 5% against the US dollar this year. Yeah. So, in fact, when I came to the US the first time back in 2010, okay, I know I used to send remittances back to India at around 40, 42, 44 rupees. Then I went back to India in 2012. Dollar was, I think, closer to 50. Okay. And then when I came back to the US in 2018, and I've been here in the US since then. So in 2018, I think it was around 65, 70, around that range. And now, recently, it touched an all-time high of 90 rupees against the dollar, right? So as I said, depreciated 5%. So significant depreciation. Okay. Uh, so yeah, while personally, it kind of benefits me. Okay. But as an equity analyst, as a budding investor, as an aspiring equity analyst, okay, or as a strategy consultant, okay, we need to understand why is the rupee depreciating against the dollar, right? Now, I'm not an economist by any stretch of imagination, okay, but in this video, let me try to distill down some of the key reasons, key why this depreciation is happening. Why is rupee falling against the dollar? Okay. Because, and why you need to understand this depreciation, this currency, the reason for currency movement is because, see, when you are as an analyst or as an investor, when you're analyzing a company, you got to keep in mind the company is not working in isolation. Okay? It is working in an economy. Okay. And the economy interacts with other economies as well, right? Okay. Certainly you need to understand key reasons kya hai, what are the reasons why rupee is depreciating against the dollar. Some very high level reasons. You don't become an economist, but at least get a high level handle of things कि क्यों movement हो रहा है इतना significant. Okay. So in this video, at a high level, I'll touch upon some of the key reasons as to why there is a significant movement in INR, which is I'll talk about current account deficit, I'll talk about capital flows, FII outflows, and inflation. So I'll touch upon all of these things and try to give you a high-level, rounded understanding, okay, which you can then use to understand the reason behind this fall. Okay, all right. So let's get in the video. Okay, and please write to me if you have any questions. See, you guys would have heard something called balance of payments. Have you guys come across that word, balance of payments? It's just very helpful to kind of get a very high level view of what balance of payment is. Okay, where many a times uh, you would read in the newspaper that India has a BOP problem. At times you will come across that piece of information. So it's important that at least you understand what it means and what kind of implication it has on India ka economy. So you should be able to make that connection. And then probably you may be able to make a connection with the company that you are analyzing as well. ठीक है, so that's the connection that you should be able to draw in your mind. As I was saying, a company doesn't operate in isolation, it operates within an economy. ठीक है. अच्छा, so balance of payment क्या है? See, balance of payment, think of them as the record of all economic transactions that that a company, that sorry, a country does with all the other countries. That's a very layman tarika to understand it. And we are going to use layman ways to understand. Okay. So balance of payments, think of this as the record of economic transaction that a country does with all the other countries. Okay. Within balance of payments, there are two accounts. समझते हैं क्या है? One is current account and the other is capital account. एक सेकंड इसको छोटा कर दूं क्या? One is current account and the other is capital account. Let's understand what is current account. Okay? See, current account, no? Current account has your trade balance. What is trade balance? It is a differential between your exports and imports. आपने बहुत टाइम सुना होगा कि इंडिया इज लेट्स से इज importing more than exporting. Okay? So when that happens, then there is a trade deficit. If India is importing more than exporting, that means India has a trade deficit. So वो ट्रेड जो बैलेंस होता है ना, दैट इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ करंट अकाउंट. तो करंट अकाउंट में आपका होता है एक्सपोर्ट, डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सपोर्ट एंड इंपोर्ट. ओके, अभी इसको और समझेंगे. यू हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड ट्रांसफर्स. व्हाट इज ट्रांसफर्स? ओके, लेट्स से आई एम एन इंडियन सिटीजन. आई I live in the US. Okay. So any remittances that I do, okay, to my family in India, okay, those remittances, they are a part of transfers. Okay. So in a way, I'm adding, of course, very negligible contribution. I'm adding to the current account of our country, India. Okay. And then something which is called income receipts and payments. Okay. Income receipts and payments. So see, a country, na, like India or any country for that matter, it earns a dividend income. Let's say India would be a shareholder in a lot of companies, right? Okay. So they would have stake LIC में या कोई भी PSUs में. So they make dividend income, right, from all these companies. So all that dividend income, no, would be a part of income receipts and payments. A combination of all this is a part of your current account. Okay. Many a times you guys would have heard that India has a CAD. What is CAD? Current account deficit. Current account deficit for the most part happens when there is a trade deficit. I'll repeat, current account deficit happens for the most part when there is a trade deficit. What is a trade deficit? When India is, let's say, importing more, okay, and exporting less, then there is a trade deficit which leads to a current account deficit. Did you conceptually समझ में आया? Did you guys understand? Many times you would see
Yes.
CAD. CAD is nothing but current account deficit. ठीक है. तो अब समझते हैं what is capital account. Guys, are you with me? I'm trying to just break it down very colloquially, not trying to use economics lingo, because I do not know what the economist lingo is. I'm just trying to explain you the way I understand it. So are you guys with me until now, guys? Can we go just 5 minutes more? Probably not more than 5 minutes, because I'll be called upon my wife any which ways. Can
Yes,
we?
sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. See, let's understand the कैपिटल अकाउंट. ओके, मैं एक बहुत लेमन तरीका यूज करूंगा कैपिटल अकाउंट समझने के लिए. लेट मी इनफैक्ट ओपन अप अ व्हाइट बोर्ड यूज कर लूं क्या? या वेरी क्विकली. सॉरी. इज माय स्क्रीन विजिबल?
Coming up.
गाइस, स्क्रीन विजिबल?
Yes.
Okay, let's say there are two countries, US and India. Of course, we know that there are two countries. What let's say? ठीक है. Now, let's say if this is a current account, okay, and this is a capital account. कैपिटल अकाउंट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट, अगर जानना है तो. Okay. So, sorry, what happened? Where did it go? Yeah. So, करंट अकाउंट क्या है? सो करंट में क्या है कि लेट्स से यूएस exports the same amount of goods as it imports. Okay. So there is, and same thing for India. Both US and India export and import the same amount of goods. So there is no deficit, there is no surplus. Okay. Now let's say, कहाँ गया रबड़, कहाँ गया यार? Why we keep on changing this? Okay. Anyway, so I have to do some scribbling here in the essence of time. Now let's say, let me paint talk about a hypothetical scenario. Let's say uh, the US is exporting more. Let's say the US is exporting uh, $2 billion worth of goods to India, okay, and importing 1.5 billion. Okay, so that means US has a surplus. US has a surplus of zero point 0.5 billion. Okay. Let's say India, and this export and import is doing only with India. Let's say, okay, and India, India का क्या है? यहां पे तो यूएस का हो गया. दिस इज सरप्लस फॉर द यूएस. लेट मी यूज अ डिफरेंट पेन. This is called surplus, current account surplus for the US, because US is exporting more than importing. Yeah. India on the other hand is exporting less and importing more. This is called a current account deficit for India. As I was saying, this is also called CAD, current account deficit, and this is called CAS for the US. Okay. यहां पे क्या हुआ है ना? Okay. Since India is importing more, so let's say India is importing more from the US and exporting less. Okay. तो जो डिफरेंशियल होगा ना, how you fund that differential, how do you fund that deficit? That deficit is funded by something called capital account. That deficit is funded by something called capital account. Okay. And ये थोड़ा थोड़ा हाइपोथेटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये थोड़ा समझना पड़ेगा. वी नॉट गेटिंग इनटू लॉट ऑफ डिटेल. अभी ये समझ लो, इंडिया इज डेफिसिट, and but you need to fund the deficit. How do you fund that deficit? That deficit, think that deficit is funded by US dollars. See, US is sitting with a surplus. Is sitting with the surplus. So what happens is this surplus of 0.5 billion, okay, is being used. This surplus of 0.5 billion, let's say, is being used to fund the capital account in India. Not current account, but the capital account in India. Capital account in India. Or when I say capital account, what I'm saying कि या तो capital account could be in the form of FDI, foreign direct investment, could be foreign portfolio investment, okay? Could be any investment in stock market, etc. etc. तो क्या होता है, जो डेफिसिट है ना इंडिया में, क्योंकि यूएस हैज अ सरप्लस, तो दैट सरप्लस यूएस इज यूजिंग टू इन्वेस्ट इन फॉरेन एसेट्स, टू इन्वेस्ट इन इंडिया का एसेट, okay, in the form of FDI and FPI. Okay? When that happens ना, क्या है कि इंडिया का डेफिसिट इज फुली प्लग्ड इन. इंडिया का डेफिसिट था, लेट्स से इंडिया का जो भी डेफिसिट था, दैट इज फुली प्लग्ड. When that deficit is fully plugged, then India doesn't have a BOP problem. India doesn't have a balance of payment problem. Both the accounts are totally balanced like a balance sheet. Okay? यहां पे डेफिसिट हो गया, यहां पे डेफिसिट हो गया, कैपिटल अकाउंट में सरप्लस हो गया, कैपिटल अकाउंट पे सरप्लस हो गया. यहां डेफिसिट इन करंट, बट कैपिटल में सरप्लस. डेफिसिट इक्वल सरप्लस. BOP is balance of payment is balanced. Balance sheet balanced. Okay. Problem occurs when deficit is
not funded by surplus. अभी और समझते हैं इसको. But before I flip back to the spreadsheet, I know है hypothetical concept है. Were you guys able to just understand at a crude level what is current and what is capital at a crude level without getting into a lot of detail? I'm going to build upon this now. कि when you can at least इतना तो समझ में आया कि when you can have a surplus, when you can have a deficit, and when you have a current account deficit है मतलब it needs to be funded. How you fund it? You fund it by capital account. Capital account has FPI, stock market investment. All of that is used to fund a deficit. Deficit कहां से आया? Trade imbalance. Trade imbalance से you have a deficit. That trade imbalance is expected to be funded by capital account, which is FDI, FPI, etc., etc. मैं ये कह रहा हूं बस इतना समझ लो. Okay. Now let me go back to the slide deck. Sorry. Now there are three scenarios, guys. Okay. Let's talk about three scenarios. Okay. Normal scenario is, let's say if the current account deficit for India, of course we'll discuss in an Indian context. Let's say if the current account deficit is moderate. What is a moderate current account deficit? Anything below 2% of GDP. Okay. If the CAD is below 2% of GDP, okay, that is called moderate CAD. In fact, Indian government, if you read newspapers, okay, many times newspapers will report that India CAD is inching towards 2% or it has exceeded 2%. Every year, government sets up a target on what should be the current account deficit as a portion of GDP, and they try not to surpass the target that they set for themselves. So any which ways, coming back, if India ka CAD is less than 2% of GDP, so that is desired. Okay. That is desired. Okay. So this is also called a Goldilocks situation. This is a normal situation. Okay. But the thing is, because you have a CAD, it needs to be funded by a current account. Current account में deficit है, it needs to be funded by capital account. Okay. So the desired situation is कि the current account deficit is funded. यहाँ पे पढ़ो. The current account deficit is funded by current account surplus, like FDI, like FDI. It is desired the current account deficit is funded by current account surplus in the form of FDI. Okay. Hold on to that thought. I'm going to build upon this. Okay. Now this is normal scenario. Okay. Let's talk about a crisis that happened in 2013. This is called the taper tantrum. If I'm not wrong, just Google it. Taper tantrum. I think that's the name of the crisis. It was 12 years ago. The CAD, the current account deficit, it inched above 3% of our GDP. Okay. The CAD, it inched above 3% of our GDP. And you know what the problem? Of course, so that's a problem. The problem was further increased, was further enhanced by because this CAD India wasn't able to plug this CAD with the current account, the capital account surplus. Why? See, because the problem with current account surplus is that it is often composed of hot money or FPI. Ideally, you want the capital account surplus or the funding or the plug to be in the form of FDI and not so much FPI. Of course, you want FPI, but you want FDI for the most part and less FPI, because FPI is volatile money ना. आज फॉरेन पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टर्स को हमारी मार्केट अच्छी लग रही है तो दे पुट इन मनी, अभी कल को नहीं लगेगी एक हफ्ते में तो दे अगेन विड्रॉ मनी. FPI is hot money, it's volatile. FDI is not volatile, it's not hot money, it has certain kind of permanency. It's a permanent kind of plug, surplus that India needs. FPI also we need, but FPI has a mind of its own. It's volatile. अभी कल को दे दिया, कल को हटा लिया. Okay. So what happened in 2013 was not only it was a double whammy for India. Not only our CAD increased beyond 3%, in fact, as high as 4.8% of GDP, but also that deficit wasn't funded by capital account surplus, and whatever surplus was there was whatever current account money was there, it was hot money. So if you read through this, in 2013, India had a CAT of 4.8% of GDP. Okay. When the US Federal Reserve hinted at raising interest rate, foreign investors pulled money out of India's capital account because it was hot money. Okay. There were no dollars left to pay for the CAD. There were no dollars. There was no capital account money left to fund CAD. So there was a BOP imbalance, balance of payments imbalance. As a result, the INR crashed from 55 rupees to 68 rupees against the US dollar in months. Okay. This forced RBI to raise interest rates. कि भाई अट्रैक्टिव बना लो इंडिया की मार्केट को, सो दे रेस इंटरेस्ट रेट्स कि इंडिया में वापस पैसा आ जाए, इंडिया के बॉन्ड्स में पैसा डाल दें. तो देयर इज सम FPI money, yeah, foreign money coming back in because they wanted this cat to be plugged in. They wanted this cat to be funded. So, guys, hope you now understand the reason why there is a lot of focus on CAD and capital account surplus. And not only capital account surplus, but what is this capital account surplus composed of? That also. There have been times when India has had a current account surplus as well. Okay. वो ठीक है, लेकिन many a times इसका मतलब पता है क्या हुआ है कि इंडिया सडनली इज नॉट द इंडिकेशन, द सिग्नल इट गिव्स इज इंडिया सडनली इज नॉट बाइंग इंपोर्ट्स. अगर आप इंपोर्ट नहीं, और केवल केवल ऑयल नहीं, इंडिया ऑल्सो इंपोर्ट्स कैपिटल गुड्स एज वेल. व्हेन इंडिया imports capital goods, na, it is viewed positively because capital goods, etc., you would use to build your own infrastructure in the country. But if you suddenly stop buying those capital goods, the signal that it gives to the market is that India is not investing in its own structural growth. Okay, all right. So that's what the implication is. Okay. So ideally, for a growth economy like India, there should be minimal current account deficit and should be largely funded by FDI. And there should be no balance of payments problem. That's the ideal Goldilocks scenario, which is the first line item. Okay. Let me build upon this. Aryan, you had asked me a question on rupee on rupee falling against the dollar. Okay. This is the last slide. Okay. Rupee falling against the dollar. There are 4 reasons. Okay. If you read through the slide, the first, of course, is CAD, na, a high CAD, of course, is one of the reasons. It's not the only reason. It's not the only reason why the rupee will depreciate against the dollar. It's one of the reasons. Okay? There are other reasons as well. One is, of course, right now, if we talk about what is happening currently, right now what is happening is there is a Trump trade tariff shock. Okay. So what happens is tariffs make Indian exports expensive. We all know that, right? Because of the high taxes being imposed. Okay. So what it means is fewer exports sold will mean fewer dollars coming into India. आप माल बेच ही नहीं पाओगे फॉरेन में, तो डॉलर कम आएगा. If you have fewer dollars, so you are making dollar expensive vis-a-vis the INR, which is what is happening right now. Okay. Second point is, I'm just going to complete. Second point is कि in October, no, our trade deficit, okay, increased beyond our target. Our trade deficit, you can calculate it in percentage terms. अभी मत करो, बाद में कर लेना. Our trade deficit, which is a part of current account deficit, it increased to a record high of $42 billion. Why it increased? Largely because of gold imports. India gold भी तो import करता है ना, because gold has been rising this financial year. Okay? And India has a love for gold. So there was a lot of gold imports coming in, given Diwali and etc. because of the time. Okay. So that also contributed to a higher than normal current account deficit beyond the set target, which also contributed towards a dollar, which also contributed to making INR less expensive vis-a-vis the dollar. Importers frantically selling rupees to buy dollars to pay these massive import bills creates a dollar shortage. जब भी किसी चीज का शॉर्टेज होगा तो उसका प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा. डॉलर का प्राइस बढ़ गया vis-a-vis the INR. Let's talk about the third one. RBI seemingly stopped intervening, selling dollars. क्या होता है ना, टिपिकली आरबीआई इंटरवीन्स व्हेन रुपी फ्लक्चुएट्स बहुत ज्यादा ना, आरबीआई इंटरवीन्स. अभी क्या हुआ ना, इन द लास्ट वीक आरबीआई डिड नॉट इंटरवीन. आरबीआई ने कहा भाई तुम्हें जो करना है तुम करो. Okay. How does our RBI intervene? Let's say when the rupee is falling, no, when the rupee is falling like it is today, RBI intervenes by selling dollars. RBI has dollar reserve. RBI has a forex reserve, no? If RBI sells dollars ना, तो क्या होता है? डॉलर अगर आप बेचो, if you sell something, okay, what indication, what does it imply? If you sell dollars, what it means? You do not, basically it tells you that you do not need dollars. So the value of dollar vis-a-vis the rupee falls because you are letting it go, you're selling it off. Okay. See, any fall in any currency is a function of supply and demand. Please understand that. Fall in any currency at the base level is a function of supply and demand. If you are selling a currency, that means there is less demand of that currency. Okay. So the price of it vis-a-vis the other currency should fall. So if you're selling dollars, so the dollar ka price vis-a-vis the rupee falls. But now RBI stopped intervening. They did not sell any dollars. कि हम नहीं बेचेंगे dollar. Rupee kept on falling because of the other two reasons above. RBI did not chime in कि नहीं नहीं बेचना हमें. Fourth, foreign investors are pulling out of India. This is something which we are seeing in the recent, not only this month, we have been seeing this recently, that there have been net outflows of $17 billion year to date in India. In 11 months, or I'm not sure if this is from January or March, I do not know that. Okay. But in this year, there has been net outflow of foreign money coming in India. Of course, that adds to the pressure of the rupee. Because if you are selling rupee में आपने stock खरीदे, डॉलर बेच के रुपये में खरीदे, and then you're selling it off, you don't want the rupee, then again, rupee falls vis-a-vis the dollar. Okay. One thing which is not there in this slide, I think it should be there. Okay. The reason why it's not there is see, one of the reason why, which is typically responsible for the fall in rupee vis-a-vis the dollar is inflation. If India is going through a high inflation time, then also it leads to India ka rupee depreciating vis-a-vis the dollar. The reason why it's not there in this slide, because inflation, I think for the most part, is still in control. So it's not a significant contributor to the rupee falling against the dollar, at least right now. Okay. See, guys, I know thoda heavy tha. This was a lot of content that we covered today. You again, you don't have to be an economics expert, but just understand the implication of current account deficit, current account surplus, what happens when we have a balance of payments problem. Okay. You just got to understand the consequences of those things. That should be your takeaway. Okay. All right.
Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And if you're a young investor or an aspiring equity research analyst and you're interested in learning the skills to thoroughly analyze, research, and value a business, then yeah, please feel free to reach out to me. All right. Thank you.